You're listening to the Ones Ready podcast, a team of Air Force Special Operators forged in combat with over 70 years of combined operational experience, as well as a decade of selection instructor experience. If you're tired of settling and you want to do something you truly believe in, you're in the right place. Now here's your host, PJ team leader, former INDOC instructor supervisor, entrepreneur, and physician assistant student, Brian Silva.
What's happening, everybody? Brian Silva for the Ones Ready podcast. Today, we're bringing to you what you've been asking for a really long time, the Crow episode, but not just any Crow. We're going to be talking to Jonathan McKenzie, captain type. He's a prior enlisted PJ who is going to be talking to you about his transition from being a PJ for a really long time to transitioning into a Crow, and kind of what that's like. He's been at a lot of the phase 2 selections, so he has a lot of knowledge to drop on you guys, not only from his prior experiences and many deployments, but also from the phase 2 side of the house and what you should be expecting, what is expected of you whenever you get to a phase 2 and get to that Crow position. So thank you guys again for listening to the podcast. We appreciate all your messages and comments down in YouTube. Make sure you check out the website, onesready.com. Lots of resources there. Check out our YouTube channel if you want to see some of the, the hand gestures that we do, Peach's knife hand. You can see all of our awesome backgrounds that we have, and check that out. So make sure you go over there, like, subscribe. Yeah. And Aaron has a fantastic, he's read all of those books.
Harry Potter in the background. I'm just trying to get real right now, dog. You trying to get a broom on? Yeah, I play Quidditch, whatever. I'm a seeker.
I mean, who don't?
Are we talking in British accents then, or what?
I am not going to do that.
Are you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. You're all right. Yeah, I'm all right.
And we also want to thank you, Eberly Stock, Alpha Brew, and Strikeforce Energy. You guys can still use the Ones Ready codes, get all those awesome things. We don't get any money from it, but we're giving you guys those discounts. And if you guys have a business that's like that and you want to support people that are doing this thing and trying to go out for special warfare, give them a discount for an awesome product. Hit us up. All right, so let's get into JMac here. We go back, pretty much all of us go back a long time from our England days, over a decade ago now with JMac, and we've known him pretty well. He's a really fun guy to be around, and we're glad that he took his time to come out on the podcast and spread some knowledge with you guys. So without further ado, if you don't mind introducing yourself and let us know a little bit about you.
Man, I can't even take Peach's face serious right now because I'm just like,
because I'm just waiting to hear what you're going to say. I'm just waiting.
I just want to give him a hug, man. It's been so long, dude. Bring back that triple S, but we'll get back to that.
That's right.
Man, so hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. Anytime I talk to anybody, in this type of form, I always do a quick disclaimer. Hey, man, my opinions are just that. It's me. It's raw. I'm not going to hold back, and I'll give you ways to get a hold of me afterwards if you guys have questions. But at the end of the day, I always get asked, "Hey, tell me about yourself, who you are, what you do, things like that." And I love this question because I've never given the same answer twice. I think we're all in that same boat. But I'll say I'm just a dude that gets to work with and hang out with like-minded people, and do a pretty rad mission set. You know what I mean? But in all honesty, going back, man, I'm like a 15 or 16-year-old kid, like fat kid stuck in a 38-year-old crow's body, to be honest with you. So, man, I'm sure that picture will surface somewhere. But, it all started, this whole journey of mine basically started back because I enlisted in 1999, 17 years old. Just not a clue what I wanted to be, who I was.
You and Peach have a lot in common. So neither one of you, I can just throw your keys on top of any refrigerator and you're stuck wherever you are. And then you guys both got in at 17.
And then we're going to have a dance off and God knows what's going to happen. But I'm telling you this, I look back and it's like, I'm sure you guys, if you watch some things or the picture will surface, my high school fat kid photo, right? But I didn't know who I was even in high school until my buddy was my freshman year, "Hey, try out for the lacrosse team." I'm like, "Cool, dude." But I was fat. I didn't like running. But let me tell you now, dude, I'll be damned if I didn't run the fastest 18.7 second 100-yard sprint, during tryouts. And only to be told "Hey man, you're basically too fat, too slow to be on the lacrosse team." And that just flipped a switch in my brain and I about just lost it. And, from then on, I was like, "Hey, start playing football, start doing this, that, the other thing." Just it's all mindset stuff, right? I think that's what we can all agree on. Pretty much everything we do boils down to dude, it's 90+% mental. And you just got to put up with the suck and get through it. But like, 17 years old, man, enlisted in the Air Force, had no clue what to expect. And then, man, those sexy dudes in the short shorts came to basic training. And I was like, damn, like, I want to do that. I think, you know what I mean? Like, I like watching Rambo, Predator, you name it, dude. I was like, I want to do that stuff. And,
Predator, objectively the best movie of all time.
I mean, yeah, I follow Arnold on Instagram 100%. Just because I just love him. But man, I'd say, like, and they came over and I was just like, okay, I'll try out. You know, like, you know how it was, Peach, back in '99, man. Like, I don't know if you were in Indoc then or you were already through, but like, dude, 100 of us showed up. And it's like the rules back then. I mean, they were like, what were rules? You know what I mean? Like, what's training guidelines?
You guys had rules? Yeah. That's fantastic.
It was crazy because, like, I remember very distinctly 4 of us passed the test. 2 of us left over that have like that were medically cleared to do it. And then I very, very vividly remembered a retired Chief Swan, man. I looked at him and I was like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not mature enough. I am not, like, I don't know who I am, what I want to do. Like, I'm not ready for this. Man, he just ripped me. They're like choice words that aren't even approved for, like, anyways, we're not even going the editing world of this right now. It just tore me up and down. I was like, hey, I'll be back. You know what I mean? Like, and he's like, that's what everybody says. You're a coward, this, that, the other. And it's crazy because, fast forward,
that
10, 12 years after that. And it's like, he was a group chief when he retired and I was actually a CRO by then. But, went off, became a C-130 engine mechanic. And, dude, it was a cool job. I worked with some great people, but man, I was just bored. I was just like, what's next? What's next? That's kind of like the mentality of, I'm always like, hey, what's the next thing I can do? I'm sure you guys are the same way. Like, I'll look at something in the garage. I'll be like, I'll start a project and I'd be like, I can do that better. Or it's like, one more rep or this, that. It's just that I just don't turn it off. And I've always been that way. I think I always will be. And so I made up my decision. I was a 4-year enlistee. And in 2000, I knew my window was in 2001 to cross train. So September of 2001, I was eligible. We all know what happened right then and there. So I had already prepped everything back before everything was, done by, computers. It was just like, I hand carried everything as a little, A1C just around all these offices. And people were like, why are you cross training? But, and it was actually, truth be told, and I don't know if Aaron and Brian know this, I was actually cross training to combat control.
What? No way.
As a guy that was on your Indoc team, no, I've never heard that before, JMac. I'm glad you put that out there.
So check this. It goes to the whole, like, I'm impatient. I can do better. I can do this, that, and everything, right? So I'm like running around. I get all my stuff done, like, and I go to the retraining office. And it was like right before 9/11, and I remember the girl's like, "Oh, you need X, Y, and Z and A, B, C blocks to check." And I was just like, "Bam, here's my folder." And she was just like, "Man, you took this serious." You know what I mean? Like, knew my window eligibility, had it all set. Had the guys at the PJ school at Kirtland ready to give me the pass test. They weren't happy that I was doing it for CCT, but truth be told, at the time, I did not think I had the wherewithal to pass paramedic. You know what I mean? But I was like, man, maybe they'll let me drop bombs. I have no idea, right? So.
I don't know why that's less dangerous. That is such a JMac thing to do. Listen, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pass paramedic. What about 500 pounders from the overhead though? Is that cool?
No, it's funny because I know some controllers that have put tourniquets on necks. It's all right, dude. So we're not going to go there.
I am not one of those guys. I just want to be clear.
Listen, what these guys do in their off time, JMac, I am not trying to get down with. All right,
we're good. All right. Anything else is just icing. So. Basically what happened is, took the pass test, right? It was in November. I was 20 years old, took the November 2001, took the pass test, and I just waited, right? Set in my hangar. And it was the January of 2002. And I got an email. And they were like, I'm reading it from a training manager. And they're like, hey, you've been selected to go to the CCT indoctrination selection, whatever course at Lackland. And it was like November of 2002. And I was like, hell no. And I was like, I looked at my boss. I was like, hey, I need to run to the PJ school real quick to talk about a couple things. Hop on my bike, rode over to the PJ schoolhouse. I love this. This is me in a nutshell. You guys know that. I'm like, I don't care. Where's a door? Can I barge through? And if it's not, I'm going to check them all.
Hop on the desk.
And it just happened to be Chief Hickson's office, right? The commandant of the PJ school. I'm just like.
One of the most famous commandants of the PJ school, by the way, too.
I got a situation. He's like, yeah. I was like, so I'm cross training. Currently a mechanic over here in the 130s. I want to go be a combat controller. They gave me a date for 10 months from now. You know what I mean? 11 months from now. And I don't really want to wait. I was like, any chance I can go PJ instead? And he's like, let me make a phone call. And I don't know, you probably know him, Jared, but he's like, it was Chief Brown at the time, the functional for whatever. And he called him up and he's like, yeah, release him. You guys can have him. I was just a number at that point. By the time I get back to the hangar, like my boss was like, had a sticky note. He's like, yeah, doesn't PJ Chief call, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, called him right back. He's like, how's April sound for Indoc? And I was just like, audible gulp, dude. I was like, well, that just got real.
How do you say the word puke noise on the phone? Just
so long story short, man, I finished, went to Indoc April 2002. Pretty broke, back then, like we didn't have the luxury of all the HPO program and what we've morphed into now, which is phenomenal. Or people like you out there trying to help people get prepped mentally, physically, what have you. Again, the whole no rule thing, I can keep falling back to that because I got beat daily and I was broke leaving that place. So 2.5 year pipeline.
JMac, do you remember do you remember the Easter smoke session? You don't have to say the guy's name who may or may not be the commander of a unit now, but do you remember the Easter smoke session?
And so I do remember him well, and I remember that well. And the fact that when Jolly 5-1 during the memorial at Patrick, I was walking across the flight line with said commander, and I was like, so I'm a captain, he's a lieutenant colonel at the time, and I just fall back. I'm like, hey man, I don't know if you remember me. He's like, I do. I was like, did you sleep okay after beating the living daylights out of me on a daily basis?
Easter Sunday for 8 hours?
I didn't just say one specific event. I just said, hey man, you still haunt my dreams, dude. Like you and Robbie Bean, I called him out in front of his wife at a Air Force ball back at Nellis too. I said, how's it feel to be married to one of the scariest human beings on the planet? He still owes me about 10 PT shirts.
When Chief Bean was down at the schoolhouse, we were at Patrick, so I was an instructor at this point. We're looking at students and they're doing this monster mash, and Chief Bean, so this is since I went through it 2 different time periods, Chief Bean starts telling this story about how bad he smoked an apprentice course team and does this number. Oh, Aaron, that was you, wasn't it? I was like, yeah, Chief, you've basically been smoking me my entire career. It's awful. It's terrible. Thanks.
His wife was just like, oh, he's a big teddy bear. I was like, man, he just must have a real big switch to flip because that's still in my dreams. But so anyways, long story short, graduated pipeline 04 as a PJ. Nellis was my first assignment. I got to the 58th RQS, and it was still AFSOC at the time, right? We hadn't done the ACC merger.
Hold on, he was also in a documentary. I just feel like that was pertinent to throw out there.
Oh, there, man.
Thought we were just gonna breeze by inside combat
over
rescue.
That documentary.
Breeze over. Yeah. What was that? Rescue Warriors. Rescue Warriors.
I mean, you guys want to hit pause? Go get your spears, and then I can have my son come in here and stab me for real, just like the virtual.
It'd be great.
So, it's all right because, my old commander from up at Fairchild just texted me out of the blue the other day, and it was a screenshot of me on his large screen TV.
Oh, man.
He's like, you're one of the greatest humans, dude, I miss you. And I'm just like, I cannot believe. He's like, that's my screenshot. And he's like, that's my caller ID picture for you. He's like, the whole 9. I'm just like, great. So, yeah, I'm all over the place, man. I'm even in the new video at Sierra, the conduct after capture video they watch. So I'm just like, people are like, I know that guy. I don't know, whatever. I'll just hang it out there, right? Triple S for life. So we'll get to that, Beach. I mean, dance parties in the ramp of fixed wing aircraft is always a good time, right? So and just
I'm not
red light goes.
Confirming that at all.
I don't know. So
red
light. he was primary. Who's primary, right? I don't know, but we'll talk about those fond memories after. So, hey, truth be told, Nellis was great. But when you look at it compared to nowadays and the mass production, if you will, I don't really have to, it is what it is, right? We need the bodies. And I think we have the training regiment, we have the folks to support it. But back then, I showed up to my unit and it was a 10-man team. And I was the only new guy. And it was there was 103 level getting trained at the time. And it was just like, dude, everybody's hyper focused on JMac. And it was just grill and a grind. You know, I showed up and I'm just bebopping in the parking lot. I'm like, yeah, look at this hat in my pocket. And they were like, give me that, beat your face, program this radio, break down this weapon, do this. And I was like, what is that weapon? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? Oh, that's a radio. It was like a humble experience to show up as a new guy, and they just, introed me to the unit after about a 3-hour smoke session. And then the best part was, they're just beating the living daylights out of me. And they throw me in the med room. Hey, pack your ruck. You have 20 minutes to pack this ruck. You got to treat, X amount of patients and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I'm in there. I'm just like, I just dealt with this for like 2.5 years. What is going on? I'm just shoveling stuff in a bag. I'm like, I'll just figure it out as I go. They walk in with like a 3-pound jar of mayonnaise, a Heineken, and a Miller Lite. They're like, and they hand me a tablespoon. You know what
Listen,
I mean? Like,
I don't know where this story is. I don't know where this story is going, but man, I am terrified.
So, I mean, just no rules, right? It's all good. So what I'm saying is like, hand me a tablespoon. And then they're like, Miller Lite, Heineken, pick one. I'm like, no, I don't even remember. I think I grabbed Miller Lite. And they're like, all right, the only way out of this is if you eat this entire jar of mayonnaise and down this beer in 5 minutes. And I was like, deals. I took that tablespoon, took a big old scoop, and right out, I was like, ah. And the commander walked in. He was like, stop. Give him his beret. Stop it. And then everybody's like, oh man, you were really going to eat that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, anyways. So that's how it started. You know what I mean? But anywho, I digress. It was a great time, my first assignment, right? And it was just me, like I said, for 10 months. I trained hard for 10 months. I was lucky enough, one of the few guys to actually deploy as, like a PJ3, so a team, the lead medic. And then I did my EL and then TL, right? So my 3 deployments out of there were just like the progression was like unheard of for folks nowadays, right? It was like, hey, you're your team member, then you're the EL, then you're the TL. And, but I still wasn't happy for some reason. You know what I mean? Like personally, professionally, I was going through a lot, right? I think we've all been there. And I was planning on getting out my 10-year mark. Man, I had application filled out for the Tampa Fire Department. Like I was like, man, what's next? That whole grass is greener mentality, right? There's gonna be something better to do. But yeah, like I said, I was getting out, and then my flight chief, Curtis, man, wheeled and deal, got me an assignment to England, the mighty 321, where I met you hooligans. And
well, I met you before when you were at Nellis, and you're smoking us for, I forgot what we set up wrong in the plane or something like that. But that's the first time I met you. But and you were smoking. Yeah.
Dude, apologies. Actually, no apologies.
Actually, you know what? Never mind.
You probably deserved it, but I love it.
Yeah, I probably deserved it. It's all right.
Yeah.
That's how I look at every beatdown I've ever dealt with. So, yeah, man. So I go to Nellis, or I go to England, and I wish I could bottle up those 3 years, because I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but hands down,
it was pretty amazing.
21 years now, and that was like the best assignment. Recently, I mean, it was just everybody we had there. Thad Allen was the commander, and then the things we got to do, the different J sets, the deployment opportunities, just the team. But like, yeah, just at Curtis' retirement, it was kind of like a mini reunion. I saw everybody, and everybody was just like, "Man, that was the best 3 years of my career." I'm like, "Man, I want to go back." I just haven't had that bonding type team since. So
yeah, we had an amazing team out there for sure.
Yeah, dude, it was a blast. Yeah. So
it was lightning in a bottle for sure. Like there wasn't one dude that like disliked another guy. It was great, other than that one SR dude that the old NN used to tune up. It was great.
Yeah,
I love him. Talked to him quite often. So yeah, I mean. So that's that. And then I was there from 09 to 12. And what question am I still on? I don't know. We're just rambling right now. But anyways, so yeah, it was actually on a CCO rotation out in Stuttgart, and just shooting a breeze with this Navy warrant officer. And he's like, "Hey man, you guys have officers?" And I was just like, I was like, yeah, but a majority of them were just straight tools, dude. So, I mean, I'll probably take some flack for that. I don't even care because at the time hey, dude, that was my opinion. I told you, raw, unfiltered. I mean, if you want to put that on replay, like just tools. You know what I mean? And that's how it was, man, because seriously, we were at that time, the career field, the community was only 10 years old, right? And I think we were still trying to find ourselves, trying to find that niche and like what we did. And, nobody really knew. That was my opinion. You know what I mean? I've matured drastically since then. So, just don't ask my wife, but, yeah, and that was it, man. So, never really had plans to cross over, but the opportunity presented itself and, kind of the rest is history. You know what I mean? So that's
what is it that like made you go, all right, I am ready to make this transition from enlisted swine to officer?
Yeah. So, yeah, man. So it was, yeah, truth be told, so I was kind of filling that role kind of as like number 3 on the team in England there for a while. And then Curtis left, Dwayne, you know, he was there and then he left and Curtis was like, man, you need to make rank, you make tech. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So it's like, put tech on and they were just like, hey, I'm the dude and we don't have another master come in for like a year. And they're like, you're running everything. And so that last year there, it was like, I was the, you know, lead evaluator, lead instructor, the whole, you know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those, like when you've, you get the quals, you get the training, you get the great ideas, and then you go to fight those battles and advocate for the boys. And certain folks are just like, yeah, that's enough out of you. You know what I mean? Great idea. There's the door. We're going to have a big boy discussion. And I'm like, I'm a big boy, dude. Like, hear me out. You know, I got some great ideas. I may be high strung.
What?
But I got some great ideas. Paquito. So it was probably that catapulted it. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, well, I want a voice at the table. You know what I mean? And whether or not they're going to offer it to me, I'm going to make them offer it to me. And I had seen some other folks that made the leap, and I was just like, man, I just don't know, you know, the quality of the individual, or, you know, I think I could do a better job. You know, just one of those things. I talked over to the wife, and she was like, try it. You know what I mean? And it was crazy. It was quite the adventure because, you know, to basically start over, you know, and it's back to one of these things where, and, you know, I don't get into that in a second, but like the initial, you know, transition, it was like I put it in the package. I didn't hear anything. And I get a call from a good buddy of mine, you know, Cole, and he's like, yeah, man, hey, I'm going to phase 2. And I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, the list came out. I'm like, oh, it did? It's like, yeah, your name's not on it. And I'm like, what? I ran into the chief at the 321st at the time. I'm like, hey, man, got a question. This whole list came out. I'm not on it. And he was like, yeah, they're not letting 7 levels go, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, that's BS. Let's dig into this if we can. You know what I mean? And so, you know, they did a little digging. And, you know, after pulling some teeth, you know, the career field manager at the time was like, yeah, we'll let him go. That's it. No more 7 levels. You know what I mean? And I get it. You know, it's one of those things. Manning's always an issue. You know, retainability is always an issue for us. You know, you can look
so you
at
slip through the cracks.
Dude,
basically.
You can look at any unit across the board, right? Across the entire enterprise, and everybody's hurting for qualified dudes. So it's like at the time they're like, we're not letting them go. So, and then still to this day, I was at a retirement, you know, and as when I was probably first lieutenant, I ran into the retired chief, and he's like, hey, man, I'm not gonna lie. He's like, that was one of the toughest decisions I had to make, is to allow you to do that, because I already had you penciled in as a future chief. And I was like, oh, damn.
Boy, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow. I thought you were a smart guy. Thanks for letting me be a crow.
Responsibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be thrown in jail easier. So I'll do this route.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that makes
for sure.
So yeah, man, that's what ended up happening. And they're like, cool, let's send them. And then boom, phase 2. Let me tell you how bad that sucked. So
well, hey, let's pause there, because we're gonna talk about it. But
oh boy,
what did you see, like, when you were getting ready to cross train? Like, what did you see? You said that the career field was young and it was in flux, and you didn't really know, but you wanted to make a change. So, What did you see the role of a crow being when you were getting ready to cross train? Because that had to play you had to have some like want to have job satisfaction on the back end. So what did you see the role being?
So at that time, like I said, it was all of Guardian Angel. The gauze was the newest. That was the the latest and greatest thing, right? And the whole human weapons system. And and previously it was all like the RQSs were led by flyers, man. You know what I mean? And the Crows were still trying to find themselves, and they were there. They were more of like, I viewed them as like, hey, they're the mouthpiece for the enlisted guys that never had it before, right? Because I don't care who you are. Even in today's day and age, with all the experience we have in this form right now, that if you're like an E6, E7, even you have a good idea, but you go into the room, dude, you're going to get voted off the island by the 04 and the 05 that thinks he or she knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? And the bottom line is they may not. And
that's big facts. Yeah.
Dude, and the thing is, like, when I talk leadership so many times to so many different people, and the minute I start talking, they're like, dude, this guy's off his rocker. And I'll look in the corner of the room at the dude being the quiet guy in the corner who's the youngest, the lowest ranking dude. And I'm like, hey man, say something. I was like, you've probably got the answer to this problem. But that's what the problem is. Like, I'm the 04, the 05. Like, I have the answer. Beat it. Beat it, nerds. Get out of here. So I was just kind of like, I want to be that guy that's like, you guys all know me. I'm vocal. I don't hold back. And I figured, like, hey, my personality and who I was, I could advocate for change. You know what I mean? And like I said, back to the whole conversation I had with that Navy warrant officer, man. He's like, hey, man, you got a pretty outgoing personality. You earned a lot of respect here from the dudes in the short 4 or 5 months you're there. Like, why don't you go for it? And I was like, yeah. But again, in the back of your mind, it's like, I'm established. I've already been around this group for 10 years. I'm qualified. I have put my time in. Trainer, evaluator, JM, dive, you know what I mean? You name it, it's there. Do I want to start over? You know what I mean? So that was it.
You got to deal with your boys too, right? Because I mean, I've seen it before. Like, your E6 leaves, he comes back as a second lieutenant.
Dude, let me get into that.
Yeah.
Oh man, how much time do we have? What time? What do we tell?
Got as much time as we need.
This could be the JMac 8-part miniseries for all I'm concerned.
I mean, dude, Rescue Warriors was what?
Rescue Warriors part
series.
3, 2.
Eat your heart out, America. So, yeah. So where I'm at, I'm trying to like focus back to the whole basically. Hopefully that answers the question, love, right?
Yeah, it totally does, man.
You know what I mean? Like, I just was like, hey, I can hopefully be a dude that's just trying to be the, what the spark that they need. So, and boy was I don't know, I'm not gonna say boy was I wrong, but damn, I ate a big old humble cupcake and then yelled at myself while I was running uphill afterwards. So,
it is my favorite personality trait that you fat shame yourself and you haven't been fat. You run ultra marathons and you're like, I'm going to eat this pizza and then I'm going to shame myself until I'm skinny again.
Because people are like, hey, how'd you get rid of that ultra? I'm like, well, I go out running in the snow up a hill. And when I feel like slowing down, I just tell myself, are you glad you ate that slice of pizza last night? Why don't you have another one? Oh, you ate the crust.
the most unhealthy self-talk. Like, it couldn't be any worse. Like,
it was a stuffed crust. Why don't you throw some burpees in when you get to the top? Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed that, fatty. Yeah. So biggest thing from what I'm listening to what you're saying is the biggest difference in the roles that you're playing is you wanted to advocate for the dudes and you wanted to give back to those guys that you had worked with, which are Aaron and I, when we showed up on team and you were the more senior person. So give back to the community and be able to advocate and do those kinds of things. You weren't specifically looking to be a crow in that combat scenario, because we have a lot of guys that ask us questions about are crows ever going to see combat and is a crow going to be ever? But, when I talked to you when you were going that route, it sounded like you had already kind of decided, like, yeah, I'm not going to be the guy that is going down the hoist every time and that kind of stuff. I'm kind of setting in this role as a crow to do my job and advocate for the dudes, use my powers of persuasion to get the things that I think is necessary for the career field.
Well, you know that better than anybody, man. You're my TL on that last deployment that we're on. Yeah. And the arguments I had with the opposing team, the personalities, right? Where I'm just like, I said, hey, I'm breaking free. I'm not even going to fly. I'm going to let the young guys fly. Let them get that experience. Let them get that exposure. I'm going to sit back and battle track, do whatever I have to do. And that, man, the feedback from those young guys, KR and those guys, man, they came back and they were just like, hey, dude, not having you on the helicopter and actually having to have, 360 wherewithal about what we're doing, because we knew you weren't over on the left side or you weren't on the right side, like having our six, it made us have a completely different mindset. You know what I mean? So, and that was justification in itself right there. But I'll get into the whole, deployment and anything like that. But, back to the whole, the roles of a CRO, just like any officer, especially in this whole, spec ops community across the board. I don't care whether you're NAVSpec, Warm MARSOC, USASOC, whatever it is, right? Special operations officer, man. Yeah. Advocate and empower, that's it. I mean, we got just absolute pipe hitters in the enlisted ranks, man, that are just like, don't hold them back, dude. Cattle prod them, support them, go. You know what I mean? And you will be absolutely amazed at the amount of talent and that's out there. And that's all I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I can wind myself up real easy. Hell, you guys have all done it.
I'm wound up right now. I gotta be honest with you. I'm more motivated listening to you talk about that senior enlisted leadership and about how you want to protect and enable those dudes. I gotta be honest. I got a freedom straight up 12 o'clock. It's straight nasty.
It's my off day. I'm staring at this skier like I'm gonna do a 5K when I'm done with this. I mean,
I bet you, I have no doubt that you are. I mean, it's whatever 6 o'clock p.m. your time.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you're hammering back coffee right now.
Just hammering it.
Dude, it's been a long day.
Better be Alpha Brew up in there. What up?
And I love this because in this neighborhood I live in is great. My neighbor's border patrol. He's like, "Hey, you PT?" And I was like, "Huh?" And he's like, "I see you got your garage set up." And then I was like, "Yeah, I dabble." And then I came up with some workouts. And I mean, we were halfway through the first one. And he was like, "D, the effing devil. You're the devil." You put him through the Viking. Devil, Tim. I introed him to the Viking. I gave him a little taste of the Viking. And,
just enough to wet his beak. Just enough to let him touch the pain.
I mean, and I should read you that plaque I have with her. Like, dude, thanks for introducing us to the Viking. But anywho, so yeah, that's it, man. I just wanted to empower those pipe hitters, man, and it basically run interference. Because previously, in my experience, I'd always seen like, "Hey, man, a great idea, blah blah blah. Go get this for me." "No, sir. Hey, stand up in front of him and explain why the team and I want to do this." It was there 50-50. I've had some great officers I've worked for, and I've had some bottle and barrel officers I've worked for. So I just wanted to be that dude to let the boys know that, man, I got your best interest in mind, and I don't care if I get yelled at. You know what I mean? Trying to go to bat for you. So, anywho, that was that. But
well, okay. So I got. Oh, go ahead, Trent. My bad.
No. Well, I think that's an interesting point because we talk so often about, the officers or senior enlisted getting stuck behind the desk, and you made the conscious effort to put yourself behind the desk and to let your guys go and do, as opposed to thinking about it as, "Hey, I'm stuck here. Like, I can't believe I have to do all this paperwork, and I still want to be the doer." And I know that transition from the doer to management, at least for me, it was difficult.
Dude, let me tell you, the desk, it's just it's a glorified box to jump on, to be honest with you. And I would tell you, I'm going to go off on tangents, but dude, I've done that twice. As an at the 58th, man. I'm going off here, but this is a great story. Like I finished the pipeline, which I'll get to that afterwards, because I had to do the entire 6-month apprentice course over again, being taught by dudes that I had actually upgraded to instructor.
Oh my
awesome.
gosh.
My attitude was absolutely stellar. My 475 training report was the best I've ever had. Man, sarcasm is just hitting me in the face right now. But
I was gonna say, yeah, I heard those same stories when I was at the schoolhouse about what a great attitude your whole team had.
I will tell you, I run into people that I didn't even know, and they're like, "Hey, sir, I just gotta tell you, you don't remember me because I was like a cone that was had just got there, and then you did this, and that was the most motivational thing I've ever seen in my life." And I'm like, "Hey, bro, cool." You know what I mean? It was just me acting a fool at the time because I was put between a rock and a hard place, and I felt like my boys had kind of turned it back on me, so to speak. I can get to that afterwards. But yeah, back to the whole box jump on the desk, Trent. So here's the deal, bro. I love telling the story because it's absolutely hilarious. And I get to Nellis, I'm getting ready to do go on my first training sortie. Needed a radio. Needed some antenna, needed the comm equipment, right? And I go down there, and I'm just a butter bar, and I go down to the comm shop, and this dude is just like, I'm like, "Hey man, how's it going? Blah, blah, just try to be personal, start a conversation, how's things, need a radio, this, that, and the other." And he's like, he just didn't even, it's just like, I didn't even exist. Like he kind of looked up at me, and he kind of went back to his computer, And I was like, man,
He thought you were lost.
How high was the desk?
I was like, dude, I found a whole travel, like a whole schematic just to find this room, dude. Like, I need your help. And I was like, in my back of my mind, I was like, you know what? Am I going to handle this professionally, or do I want to get this dude's attention? And, I was like, you know what? Let's get this dude's attention. So I sort of box jumped right at his desk, split his keyboard, and I'm standing over him. And I was just like pointing at him. I don't know if it was like
most wild behavior. Like,
dude,
what are you even doing, man?
And I was just like, hey, dude.
You were like a senior airman at this time?
No,
like, wow.
Dude, and I'm Tyron now, dude, like, for some reason, the rep, anytime I needed anything from the support folks from that day forward, it just happened.
Because they thought you were insane, JMac. You jumped on a desk and yelled at a guy. Like, I don't.
To me. Pay attention to me. I'm special. Dude.
I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly.
Oh, he's a peacock. You got to let him fly. Did that go the way that you thought it would, supply guy? Nope. Give me my helmet.
Man, it worked. Okay. So there's the analogy. The desk is a box, right? You can use it how you see fit.
Well, yeah. Okay. So as a CRO then, like, no kidding, just because I haven't been deployed in a operational environment with a CRO as part of my team, what does a CRO do on deployments?
So it's mission specific, right? So many different mission sets. And when you talk about, and this is one of the questions I get all the time about, hey, what am I going to do as a CRO? Because Brian, you touched on it earlier, like, oh man, am I going to go see combat? Am I going to do this, that, and the other? And it's like, what I want to tell them is just like, man, you need to be just like any other officer, any other, operator in the aspect warfare community, just outside the box thinker. You need to realize that you're going to be like a mission analysis, mission planning guru, right? Especially in the PR world, because it's so dynamic, right? And especially with this whole the morph into the strike axis recovery, right? There's just so many different mission sets, so many things we can do, whether it's joint, combined, whatever have you, right? And it's just like the CRO. So and this is one of those things where, hey, for the first, you're going to get out of the pipeline. The first 2 deployments you do, you're going to plan on doing at least 2 deployments at that tactical level, right? You're going to even potentially 3 depending on the unit you go to, especially nowadays with the whole 19 Zulus thing. And we'll get into that afterwards. Historically it used to be you come out of the pipeline, you go straight to an RQS, you do your team commander upgrade, which is about 6 months to a year. Then you go into that, you fall into that whole George cycle and you deploy with your team, come back, rinse, repeat type deal. And whatever theater you're tasked with, that's what you're going to do. You can be on a rotor wing team, fixed wing team. And it's just, luck of the draw, man. And we all know in the PR world, it's like, our day that we get to shine is like somebody else's the worst day of their life. And you never know what's going to happen. And then afterwards, like I said, back into that whole, like, be the master thinker, right? The master planner, master analyzer, whatever have you, because you're going to do either JPRC rotation, PRCC rotation. And the thing about this community, it's so small that, man, as long as you're vocal and you let the leadership know and you communicate effectively on what you want, what your desires are, there's a pretty good chance that you can have the opportunity to do it. You know what I mean? Like, there's some manning shortfalls everywhere, but I'm hearing dudes that I helped put through the pipeline in phase 2 and stuff. And they're already coming back on their like 3rd deployment, and they're been a deployed commander on their 3rd deployment. And I'm like, man, you know what I mean? So you just never truly know. But hey, man, just like giddy up, you know what I'm saying? So just know that you can do. It's just a multitude of things. I can't.
Now, JMac, when you say 2 to 3 deployments that a CRO gets, where they actually get to see some, like, what amount of time is that? Not the length of the deployments, but from a time on team that a CRO arrives, how many years do they get on team before they have to go to school for officer development or become more leadership?
So I'm going to say, you're looking at, when you pick captain on. So from some guys finish the pipeline in like a year. And
easy,
whoa,
fella.
Getting excited.
Jeez, yikes.
Coffee's Coffee's hitting me. So,
Yeah.
Very
I mean,
emphatic with the hands.
Yeah. So some guys finish the pipeline in a year and a half. Some finish it in 2, right? You come out of the pipeline and you're a first lieutenant. You're going right into team commander upgrade, 6 months to a year. You're getting your first deployment as a first lieutenant, right? You're coming back. You're probably pinning on captain, getting ready to head out the door for your second deployment. And I talk about that tactical level deployment, right? So that's just like you're in there and you're repping, you're advocating for those enlisted pipe hitters on a team. Like Brian and I he was my TL for my 2 years, my 2 deployments as a CRO at Nellis, man. And we just, you're in sync with each other. And it's just like, hey man, here's your lane, here's my lane. We're running parallels and we're just going to crush life together. But there's certain things that like, hey man, you handle that, make sure the team scored away. I'm going to go fight this other fight over here and just try to get what we need to get, whether it's, some other funding stuff, dealing with the budget, you know what I mean? And I know because I have that trust with Brian and trust with the TL that he's going to handle the other stuff. I can just come in and say, who's ready to rock? You know what I mean? Like, and I know they're ready to go. So on to deployment, man, you're just, it's depending on what cycle you're on, whether it's 24 on, 24 off, 12 on, 12 off, whatever rotational basis you have. And it's just like rest, rinse, repeat of like, you're doing the whole intel briefs, what's going on in the theater, what's the most, current events and where's the hot spots. And it's just, you're analyzing, man. But the cool thing is it's like, and Trent, you alluded to like that. I love that time because like, yeah, not behind a desk, man. I'm with the boys and you're so hyper-focused on just making you and yourself, you're making yourself and your team better, becoming more tactically proficient at that tactical level, right? Because you know that operational assignment's right around the horizon. So if that helps, man, I mean? If that helps answer the question, but what they can plan on, and I can, sign, seal, deliver, JMac said it, throw spares afterwards, graduate the pipeline, plan. You're going to do a couple years, at least 2 tactical deployments, if not more, depending on assignment, and there, like I said, there's, with Hill 19 Zulu that just came out, like now the guys are going straight out of the pipeline to ST units. I don't know how they're being utilized. I can't speak to that right now.
I got a flight commander CRO. They're one of the troops up at the place where I work has a PJ troop chief and a CRO commander. So it's happened. And there are CROs downrange from STSs right now on global access and strike and recovery troops that are doing good work. So the aperture is wide open for what you can do. So it's really diverse. You're totally right.
I had a good conversation with him. I think last week I answered email and I finished it with now knock out a set because I don't want any more stupid questions. But hey, it is what it is. Love that guy.
Get him.
So did that answer? I mean, was that good, Peach? I mean,
Yep. Yeah, that's all I want to know because we get a lot of those questions anyway about, hey, as an officer coming in, whether you're doing the enlisted to officer or you're just coming in as straight officers, how much team time do I actually get? Because I think a lot of them get sold a story that, hey, you're going to be kicking in doors and you're going to be doing the mission even as an officer. And I hate to tell people whenever they think that way. It's like, hey, yes, you will for a couple of years, and then you've got to move on to go take care of the guys. And
because there's different missions. And that's what. Yep. It's a really hard thing to try to explain to people when people are like, oh, well, how long am I going to get to do this before I get stuck behind a desk? Man, you're not stuck behind. Some of the best things that have ever happened for this career field happened because people put down the gun and picked up the desk and made great things happen for all of our career fields. Like, it's a necessary thing that we have to do. And it's a hard thing to explain to young hard chargers that just want to go out there and they want to be on target all the time. And that target and that battle space changes.
That's why I have a standing desk, because I just pace back and forth like a cat, like a tiger.
So it's a walking desk.
I am so unsurprised. You basically have a dog run. You have a cable that they leash you to. Man, and your computer's on one end.
They're like, hey man, do you need a new foot pad because it's worn out in the middle? I'm just like, that's good, dude.
No, it's fine.
Well, speaking of questions that we have to ask, and we have to say it in the way that it's asked 100 times, no matter what we say about it. And it's in the same vein, like day-to-day life as a CRO, right?
Day-to-day.
No matter what we say about it, unless we hit it with every single AFSC or career field that comes on here.
Unless we ask specifically you right now, JMac, can you tell us in Garrison,
yeah,
what is your day-to-day like as a CRO specifically?
7 to 9 PT, 9 a.m. stand-up. If I have any more,
it's the exact same answer.
If I get one more link to a Zoom meeting I'm going to just start beating things with a baseball bat. Okay. That 9 a.m. stand up turns into a 9:30 discussion, which turns into a 10 o'clock to a 12 o'clock COA development on why we discussed what we discussed at the 9 o'clock. And then like 3 o'clock, what just happened? Oh, I'm developing.
This is hitting
I'm writing a GS,
way too close to home.
Dude, I'm writing a GSPD right now. Hey, I forgot to eat lunch today. My blood sugar's low. Let me go have a cup of coffee at 4 in the afternoon. I get home and I'm just wound up. Man, what do you want to know? I don't even know if I put a uniform on. Is that Garrison? Did I put a uniform on?
As if we're wound up the rest of the day.
This is honestly the best. This is honestly the best possible answer we've ever gotten. We get this question so much, and no matter how many times people are like, so we thought we would just cover it all in the beginning and be like, all right, what's it like in Garrison for special warfare? And people are so like, I want to be a crow. Can you tell me what the day-to-day is like? And we're just like, oh man. But this is the best answer I've ever heard.
But I'm gonna tell you, because it varies, dude. But it's based on personality, dude. Like my day, it starts off just like I said. I'm not gonna lie. And I check my email, and then like, dude, I'll be lucky to get halfway through the inbox because I don't like. Here's the deal with me, like, I'll shoot you an email, but as a last resort, okay? Because I'm gonna call you first, and then I'm gonna pay you a visit in person if you're geographically located near me. And then if I still can't get a hold of you, then I'll shoot you an email and tell you I'm going to follow it up with a phone call and another visit, right? Like I'm going to close that loop, and you're going to be like, this dude is just annoying. Because yeah, the desk is there, but it's just there. It doesn't have to hold you back, man. You got to get out. You got to get out. You got to talk to the folks. You got to handle business. You got to check the morale, the welfare. Because I'll tell you, man, like that whole like, oh, Garrison Crow thing, people are like, oh, that's the officer. Man, he's squared away. He knows everything. Dude, you have no idea. Personally, professionally, dude, you talk about you sprinkle in the family love, you sprinkle in everything else that's going on, dude. And I remember that as a young enlisted dude, I was like, oh, the officer has all the answers. Dude, now that I'm living that life and I have those conversations with the 05s and 06s, and they're just like, dude, I have no idea what I'm doing when I grow up. And I'm just like,
this is the scariest comment. This is the comment that I'm going to make right now, and I understand how scary it is. JMac, when we say that we need an adult, because we all say that, you're the adult. You're the person now that we're talking about. When we say, I need an adult, and someone's like, Aaron, you are an adult, I'm like, no, I need an adult to your adult. You're the adult to your adult now.
Okay, and I'm going to hold that thought, because, man, I'm going to find it right now, dude.
But bottom line, from what you're saying, though, I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying with not sending an email right away and expecting an answer, because it's the same thing with any other agency that you work with. If you send an email, you don't know if you're going to get a response back, or people will click through it and like, whatever, I don't feel like getting to it right now. And if you're there in person, not only do you get to see the person that you're talking to, they know that you're right there. You can see that they're receiving the message, and you can get it to them and say, hey, I told you last week I was at your desk and you told me that you're going to do X, Y, Z, and only X is done. Where's the rest of the stuff that you said you're going to get done?
Where's Y, Z?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Well, because here's the deal. Here's how the Air Force works, man, off of checklists. And if you send an email, I fired and I forgot. Oh, I did it, sir.
Yep.
It's done. Oh, you did? Man, you sent that email and you CC'd 100. Thank you. Let me go clean up your mess because you're an idiot. Yeah, I mean, like,
all right, man. We're gonna reel it way back.
Okay.
So we paused on it earlier, but I want to get into it now. So let's talk phase 2 stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Man, I want you to talk about two big things. Well, I want you to talk about your
one thought.
Okay, go.
Remember when you said like we need the adult, and the adult in the room is you?
Yep.
I'm about to do this on this podcast because I don't even care.
Oh boy.
Here's the adult.
God.
Man, I don't know if you can see it.
Is that the fat kid?
That's the adult.
There he is.
Oh, yo. We are going to make this. Mark my words. I don't care if it gets me fired from every single thing that we do. That is the Instagram post for this podcast. Congratulations, you're famous.
Do you want frosting?
It's not fat, it's
frosting
husky,
on that
right?
cupcake?
That's your screensaver to motivate you, right?
Put it on the group chat now. We need that. So, hey, phase 2.
Love it.
So, two questions, 2 focuses here. Number 1, how was it and what was your experience? And then number 2, knowing that experience and then knowing what you know now, how would you have prepared for it back in the day?
Love it. Love the question. So I get to ask this all the time. Man, it boils down to this. Like 1 week gut check. That is it. You know what I mean? Like that whole, I don't even know what, I'll probably screw up when I say like the whole 3 days. What is that? 3 days without sleep, 3 days without water, whatever that crap is, food. Like, man, 1 week gut check, right? The hardest part of phase 2 is phase 1. Is just crossing your T's, dotting your I's, getting your paperwork in. And like people are like, they spend all this time on this narrative. And I don't know.
You just made Trent so happy. Dude, Trent just got so happy.
Good, because I don't know how many
so many people mess it up.
Dude, and that's what it is. If you are, you cross your T's and dot your I's on your phase 1 package and you're authentic, you're genuine. We're not hiring a dude or a girl because what they say they are on paper. You know what I mean? Like, man, be you, be yourself. And that's all the time people are like, yeah, I got this interview. What do I say to the board? This, that, and the other thing. And it's like, be yourself, man. Don't try to tell the board the answer that you think they want to hear, because you really don't have a clue. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you've Googled it, you Wikipedia'd it. Oh, I need to talk about this, that, and the other. Man, you don't have a clue. Be yourself.
That's some of our, man, as an instructor, you can tell 100% when a student pivots away from the question that they're supposed to answer and breaks into a life story. You're like, hey, what's 2 + 2? And the people are like, Sarge, the 2 + 2 is, I remember that I learned this from my impoverished childhood, and it taught me to be a better person and to never quit.
And I was an Eagle Scout. Wrong. Bye.
Wrong. It was 4. Get out. I hate you.
You still don't know how to sharpen your Swiss Army knife. So here's the deal, man. Like, I'll fall back to it, but like back to the whole, like, hey, you're asked a question, man. Like, there's this guy that I mentored. He's awesome. He's in the pipeline now. I'm at phase 2. I'm sitting on the board, and I look at his background, and it's like, dude, he has his like top of his class chemistry. I'm like, dude, this dude's wicked smart. Okay, let's have some fun. This is how JMac thinks. The other board's far and away asking questions like this, and they're just like, okay, around the room, does anybody have any questions? It's a couple chiefs, a couple captains, colonel sitting in the middle. I didn't tell anybody I was about to fire off on this because I had just took into the Google machine, right? I looked at him square in the eyes. I said, I got one question for you. I said, Kenneth so-and-so. I was like, what's the atomic weight of neon? Dude, and he was just like, I don't But like,
I don't know why. Why would you ask that? What was the motivation behind it? Just to screw him up, or like to put him in?
Okay, he was a chemist. I want to know the atomic weight. Like, you should know your chart, right? That's your job.
You asked him a periodic table question.
Periodic table.
Yes. I pulled it out, and he was just like, he tried to throw something out there. Actually, he was on it. He was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, he was just baffled. And I used to laugh about this. Dude. Like, they're like, hey, that's it. And then there was like stoic. And then he walked out, and like the room erupted, and they were like, periodic table, JMac? Are you serious? I'm like, hey man, I want to see this dude's true character, right? So anywho, I digress. Back to the whole thing, right? I thought that was funnier than you guys did, but whatever. I'll just go eat myself to shame later on. So man, here's the anxiety and the build-up getting ready to go to phase 2. And it's back to the whole, like, this is for anybody just say straight up, I'm a sophomore in college, junior in college, and get ready to go to it, or I'm a prior enlisted dude, whether it's in the community with your brothers growing up, for a decade plus, or
civilians now,
or civilians,
even civilians off the street. That's a great program that they're running, is bring them in off the street, bring a civilian in, and they're hilarious because they don't have a clue. They're no idea. They're so funny to watch. But man, I showed up, and like I go back to the 1 week gut check because I knew it was going to suck. I had talked to the guys who'd been previously. So 25 of us showed up. There were 14 ROTC or enlisted guys and 11 commissioned officers. And I'm like, sweet, who's going to lead the charge? Blah, blah, blah. And there was this Army captain in charge. Man, this is hilarious too because I don't even know how I'm here. Let me just tell you that. Like, the things I've pulled, like, I should have had my throat slit and been like thrown in the trench. You know what I mean? For the things I did. But like, I'm just like, cool. This Army captain. Anyway, listen. Hold on. You deserve to be murdered for the things you did. That's hyperbole, JMac. Nobody dislikes you like that.
Maybe not murdered. So let's just say, like, I don't know.
Somebody should poop in your cage. Somebody should poop in your cage. Somebody should put an old yogurt in your dry suit and then roll it up and then put it in your cage. And that's what they should do.
Let me find it after 8 months. They should. That was awesome, by the way. That's
months later. That was the most disgusting thing I've ever smelled in my life.
And he still wore the dry suit.
There was like ivy growing in it, roots.
And he still wore a dry suit. And that wasn't the worst thing to happen in a dry suit that trip, by the way.
I'm not talking about that. So happy Cinco de Mayo there, Brian. Anyways.
Oh yeah.
So it's belated, but
wine mixer. Yeah.
So anyways, back to the whole. Anyway, so I get there day 1, man. This Army captain just I was just like looking at this dude as a tech sergeant, and I was like, this dude doesn't even know how to spell Army, let alone going to lead this group of dudes through this selection, right? Obviously, he hired a tutor to do his phase 1 package because he got accepted. So it was rough, man. Like I knew what to expect, and basically, we started on a Sunday, the pass test, and you're running through the whole gamut. And by Tuesday, I mean, it was such a beatdown that by Tuesday we were down to 7 people. So that was all 11 commissioned officers had quit. We were down, it was 3 prior J's, 2 academy guys, and 2 ROTC guys at that point. And I was just like, what is going on? You know what I mean? And it was like a rough week for me, and I'll show some vulnerability here, and I'll just open up to you guys in the audience, because I'll tell them just to give you an idea. I can smoke and joke and laugh right now, but I'll tell you, like, worst week of my life, it was there. It's, if not the worst, it ranks up there pretty high. And it was Wednesday morning after, like, it was the long run day, man. I was just like, I was sick for starters. So I was, traveling from England all the way to Spokane, Washington, just beat down from just very little sleep. And, just like, I was dragging. And I finished that run way behind the guys. I was just down on myself, down on my luck, get back to the room. Happened to call my wife. And I was like, babe, I actually had I was like self-doubt at that time. I was like, babe, I don't know if I can do this. You know what I mean? And thank God for her, because she was just like, she's like, yeah, whatever. That's cool, because you got a newborn son and a 3-year-old daughter who already made congrats dad signs for you when you get home. And I was like, ooh, I was like, sick burn, but that's all I need to hear.
Got me. Golly.
Next thing I know, I'm going into the Hell Night, and I got 2 large bore IVs, and I'm just like, where am I? And I mean, it was rough, but looking back, man, like, I get it. I understand why. You know what I mean? Like, it's a gut check. Do you really want it? You know what I mean? Because in the previous past, it was just like, oh, hey, you're an enlisted controller, you're an enlisted PJ. Oh, you want to be an officer? I mean, you could be a completely horrible person, and here's this shiny hat and this new rank, and go do, right. Like, I think it's a valid gut check to make sure, hey, you really want to do this? Do you really want to go down this road? And I had
just to pause you real quick, and I don't want to throw you on a tangent, but did that sort of experience, like you coming out of that and you going, hey, this is totally valid, did that shade your kind of like future to go work there? Is that what kind of made you want to be involved so heavily in that process, because you valued it?
No, that was a family decision, not getting into that. So I mean, you guys know me pretty well. My daughter, right? I'm EFMP, and my entire life right now, career, assignments, whatever have you, is it completely evolved around her and her care, and the ability for me to take care of her and give her the opportunity she needs to excel or whatever in life. And everything else is just icing, whatever I can do, So that assignment was like, hey man, I need a POSX after 10 years of just being an enlisted PJ and a CRO at that tactical level, and just averaging 220 plus days a year gone, whether it was deployments, TUIs, or whatever. I needed to be there for the wife. I needed to be there for the family. We needed a POSX personally. And Fairchild was just the assignment, because Seattle was there, the neurologist, it was just a great assignment. And it just happened to be that, man, phase 2 is there. And then I ran with it, and it was a great experience.
Gotcha.
But
cool. All right.
Yeah,
so how would you prepare for phase 2?
How would you
so
prepare?
No one like, yeah. Well, how would you came out, you had to have IVs. You almost didn't make it. You were at your lowest point. Like, looking back on that, like, how would you prepare for it then? What advice would you give to somebody going to phase 2 to be like, hey, this is what you need to focus on?
Sleep deprivation hits like you wouldn't believe. You know what I mean? It's like, I always do this. I'll make what I'll do, and this is like bad on me, maybe. I don't know. My coach probably hates me for it, but I'll make these workouts, and I'm like, that looks dumb on paper. And I'll start doing it. And I'm like, one round in, I'm like, oh, this is really dumb. And like 30 something minutes later, I'm just like dead. And I'm like, I got 3 rounds left. It's a grind, dude. I mean, that's it. The bottom line is like, man, like, whether there's so many resources out there, but like, find a grind and just do it, dude. You know what I mean? And then do it tired. And then, do it, dehydrated. And then you know what I mean? Just like, and just know what it feels like, and it's just like, when you have nothing left, go find a hill and sprint up it as fast as you can. And like I said, I fall back to the whole mental. It's 90+% mental, and running phase 2s now. And I have these dudes, I look at their phase 1 package, and it's like, oh, I'm a D1 swimmer. I'm a captain of the water polo team. Let me tell you, you know how fit you have to be, you know, a collegiate water polo player. And he quits on underwater. And I'm like, dude, it's here, man. Like, I'm not this like D1 professional athlete dude, but man, you give me a warehouse full of stuff, I'm going to move it for you. I don't know how fast it's going to happen, but I'm going to move it, or I'm going to motivate others to help me move it.
Yeah, I think that's really an important part, like you're talking about. You guys have to experience, those people that are watching, listening out there, you have to experience what failure feels like over and over again. And I integrated that stuff into, like, you know, the workouts that I designed, because I designed them for specifically that kind of thing. And it's the crucible days that are the toughest ones. It, like, pretty much goes through a really tough day at selection or whatever, doing bear crawls, going through a long ruck, going through freaking long water con sessions. Like, you see 4,000 meters on a swim and you're like, I've never done that much before. And you just do it. You sit there, and however long it takes you, you freaking get it done, because you can get it done. It's just, how motivated are you going to be? And it's going to be the same thing when you go to selection. Like, are you going to be motivated enough? Yeah. Eventually
you're going to be going to dive school, do a 10K. And you're not gonna be able to pee when you're finning, so your buddy's gonna have to drag you. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna happen. So, but yeah, man, that's it. And it's funny because I really attribute the fact that I played high school football to it. That mental toughness of 2-a-days, things like that, right? And then having prior experience in the community, and just knowing, because what I always talk when I talk leadership mentorship with anybody is, I'm like, so many people don't attempt it because they're so afraid of failure before they even attempt certain things. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I'm not going to be a statistic guy and throw it out there, but like, my personal opinion, dude, like 80-90%, you know, people in this world have no idea what they are capable of. You know what I mean? Like, we could all admit there, we've talked to people like, oh, I just haven't started school. I just don't know if I can do it, man. Or it's long, or man, I don't, you know, and it's just one of those things where, you know, you get sick and tired of hearing it. You know, I remember the first time I met my wife's coworker, you know, he was a chaplain's assistant, you know what I mean? And the first time I meet this dude, I walk in and, you know, she's like, be nice. We're still dating, right? And I'm like, hey man, nice to meet you. He's like, oh, you're a PJ? And I'm like, yeah. And what's the first thing that comes out of his mouth? Anybody want to guess?
I could have made it if I was going to do it. Yeah.
And I was like, I think I said something along the lines of shut the up. And then I got a swift backhand. We're in a chapel, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what I mean?
Perfect.
Like, man, like, try it. You know what I mean? Try it and then say something. Because you'd be surprised, dude. It's not, I mean, you guys can attest. You get that big yoked dude who's got the 8-pack and the 60-inch biceps. You know, like, I'll crush rocks. Okay, dude. But watch out for the 120
make it past
pound.
The first week.
Yeah, watch out for the 120 pound kid over there, because he's going to run circles around you, and he's got more mental and intestinal fortitude than you can even dream about. And now that's all it boils down to. So hopefully that sums it up, man. But like, it
was awesome.
But for me too, going through and having my buddies. I mean, one of the dudes that I was on team with going through the apprentice course was just, man, I was just staring at his shins all the time doing push-ups. And I'm just like, man, I used to hold your hair out of the toilet and listen to you complain about you not being good enough for this world. And it's like, now I'm doing burpees for you, dude. Like, you know, it's like they pick and choose, and they just give you these unattainable timelines. And that's what people get you so stressed out about it. But just like, you know what, handle it. If you fail one task, there's many more coming. You know what I mean? Like, dude, the decision is not going to be weighed on you at phase 2. The simple fact that you're invited to phase 2, dude, we need you. We want you. You know what I mean? I've been to phase 2 briefs where the cadre lead, the 05, the 06 comes in and says, gents, we got 24 candidates. We need 22. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, and what do we end up passing? 6. And it's not because we don't want to. It's like, yeah, we're gonna test your mental and intestinal fortitude. We're gonna test your IQ. We're gonna put you through the rigors. But man, at the end of the day, it's like, we want you, we need you, we invited you. So it's one of those things, man. So.
Well, and I said this, I don't know how many times as my instructor, when I was an instructor, when I was, you know, down at school, and I'm sure Brian did too. Like, that's one big misconception. Every one of us in AFSPEC War, every single instructor, almost to a man, wants you to succeed. How happy would you have been if you invited 24 and you graduated 24 from that phase 2? What would that have felt like?
Dude, and great, but at the same time, like, and look, Aaron, you've been there with phase 2s, Brian, and dude, I'm that guy that's like, hey man, I'm gonna mentor, develop you, but at the same time, like, I would tell you this for those listeners out there getting ready to go, if I'm there and I give you options, dude, take the road less traveled, take something you're not familiar with, but I'm gonna offer you some punishment, and I'm gonna say, hey man, like, you complete this task, you can have you can have hand A, and I'm gonna offer you, 100 push-ups, or hand B, I'm going to give you 100 mind benders. Man, choose the mind benders, dude. Any day of the week.
Any day of the week.
And then
best exercise in the pipeline, everybody.
I'm telling you, dude, next time I'm at a phase 2 and I offer that up and the dude choose mind benders, I'm going to be like, dude, one's ready? And then I'm going to make him do push-ups. But because I spilled the beans.
Appreciate it.
So
Take it to the pool and say, one's ready.
Yeah, dude, straight up. Mind benders, go. Take it, pick it. So hopefully that sums it up, man, a little bit. Call me. I'll get you ready, dude. We'll eat some pizza and run some hills together while we talk trash to each other. Come on, Pete.
I'm just laughing because I'm also a fat kid. So, dude, what do I got?
That's why I work out so hard because, like, man, this diet's for the birds, dude. If I hear one more person tell me they're, like, do keto, I'm going to slap them. So...
Hey, JMac. I have some news for you, my friend.
I'll see you Monday morning at 07. I'll slap you for doing keto.
I'll be there Sunday at 1600. Let's just get it over with.
Man.
I gotta get out of this quarantine. I gotta get out of this quarantine and then process somehow. Just be there, sir. I'll see you.
It's crazy, man.
Jeez. Well, JMac, would you do it all over again, knowing what you know now?
Heartbeat. In a heartbeat. And it's one of those things where I just love being part of this community. And if I could tell everybody that's aspiring to do it, you know what I mean? There's movers and shakers, dude. But this community is full of both. And it's crazy, dude. And I just, I'm over 20, almost at 21 years right now. And people are like, I meet people that are just like, I call them, the regular Air Force folks that don't do Spec 4 like us or aren't familiar with our community. And they're just, there's tech sergeants at 19 years or masters at 19 or 20, and they're just beat down. And then I'll talk to them. I'm like, I've been for over 20. And they're like, are you serious? And I'm just like, and then I'd say like, yeah, and I'm just getting started. And they're like, what? You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I don't want it to end. You know what I mean? Because whether it is on a team or whether it is behind a desk or whether it's doing, you know what I mean? Like, I love it. I don't care. You're going to have the good days, the bad days, the ugly days, no matter what you do. But man, boy, are we lucky. And I think we all know it. You know what I mean? I just have to look back to a time where I'm like, hey, they needed to get a JM currency for one dude. I'm the only current qualified JM. And oh, by the way, we're going to fly a C-17 in just for you to do a couple of elevators. And then you're like, dude, pinch me. Is this real? An entire C1 or C-17 just to myself, just to throw one guy out?
Hey man, it's the way it goes.
Just to do a gainer off of? I mean, if you had to guess, how many gainers have you done in your lifetime? And how many have you done with me on the back of a raft?
I think it's just the rite of passage. If you're going to jump and Pete, you got to do it.
Hey, you got to do it, dog. I remember a specific one where a special reconnaissance guy, JMac, and myself came up with a wacky plan for triple gainers, and we got really close to one another because we didn't understand how the wind worked off of a ramp. So there was a little bit of checking hands, checking feet, and getting airspace awareness, but it all worked out because we're here. Except for the guy that landed on the cow and got pooped on.
Oh, man.
I mean,
I'm bringing it back.
I don't know if I know that story. So you're just getting started. So moving forward,
Dude, yep.
I guess looking into the future, the whole 19Z thing, the officer AFSCs within special warfare.
Yeah, man.
From where you're sitting, where's it going? What's the deal? Positives. What are your thoughts?
So I love it. I absolutely love it. So doing away with the whole 13. Go ahead.
And we do too, man. Just to focus you on like where we are. Like we are early adopters of this thing. We are totally on board, man. Like we are pumped.
Yeah, dude. So I love it, and I get that the buzzwords are just running rampant nowadays with this whole thing, But even with the whole One Zulu, that was back in October. Finally became a thing, right? I think it's great. I think this whole spec war enterprise, the whole spec war movement, and the bottom line is this. I'll try to speak as intelligent as I can here, but like for the first time ever, we actually have a director at the half level. I mean, that is absolutely huge. The fact that we have an A3S, up at the half, spec warfare umbrella, that is just like guiding our development is huge. You know what I mean? So I think getting rid of the whole, with the 19 Zulu, so taking those, the 13 Charlie, 13 Delta, 13 Lima, right? Taking those out of that command and control AFSC and assigning us, as of April 30th, having our own, AF spec warfare AFSC. I mean, the opportunities are endless. And granted, there's going to be some growing pains. But like I said, the opportunity, like I said, the biggest, why I'm really excited about this and where I see this going in the future is just, like I said, back to whole like-minded individuals, extremely motivated men and women right across the board. But the fact that we can now, through the AFPC eyes, right, that we can cross-pollinate. So we can throw these stows into RQSs. We can throw the crows into, STSs and fill these leadership roles, in the TAC POs as well, that they formerly weren't in, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I know for a fact that a PACAF, one of my buddies is leaving, he's a crow, a TAC PO is going to go into that position. You know what I mean? And, like I said, that the whole buzzword cross-pollination, it's absolutely huge. And the synergies that are going to be available for us, even though we didn't merge with AFSOC, like I said, dude, the opportunities from training, the employment, everything, it's going to be huge. And, but like I said, it's going to take time. So I just, it's one of those, like, as the whole desk jockey, cards may fall. Like I spent from this past, was it March? Anyway, I spent about 3 weeks helping. There was 17 and 18 of us in this Zoom WebTech, not WebTech, WebEx thing, and we did the 19 Zulu CFTP, right? People are just like, when that email comes out, they're like, I don't want anything to do with that. You know what I mean? And then anything to do with the development of it, right? Because you get so
that's so crazy to me. Like it's hard work. Like I get it.
It's the worst attitude to have.
Yeah, you got so many hard-headed individuals that are like, oh man, this is going to be insane. But what you have is, the history of it is you have 3 compartmentalized communities that for the first time ever, and let me tell you this, are dumping it onto a spreadsheet. And then, I had my doubts. I was like, hey, I'll be your huckleberry. I'm going to do this and rep the FT where I'm at now. A couple other people were like, dude, good luck with that. I even called the dude down at ATC and I was like, hey, bro, don't think this is going to work via a WebEx, via a virtual thing. This is the type of thing that we actually need to sit in a room together in a U-shaped table, pull out the shock knives and get some before we start, because that's what, that's what's going to happen. And
it's the only way it works. Those things are knife fights. Like they really are. Like being involved in the things that I've been involved in too. Like I understand the trepidation going in there. Like, good on you for being involved though. That's dope.
And it was huge. And it was slated for 5 days, and it took close to, when it was all said and done, close to 16 or 17. And now it's just waiting for adjudication. But this is huge because, like I said, it's the whole, it encompasses the whole entire 19 Zulu, one document, common skills, core tasks, the whole 9. And if you look at the FMPs, man, it's just like the ability that we can just be under this one group is huge. You know what I mean? So, and I'm excited for it.
It's important because guys that aren't communicating with each other, I mean, that's how our team rooms always were, is like, this team is in here, they don't really talk too much to this other team that's next door to them. Even though they're doing pretty similar things when they're training, they don't really talk to each other. So if you can get everyone on the same page and not only use your funding together, but also use your brain power and your planning assets that you have to go one direction and actually facilitate those movements that you're going to be doing across the board, then I think it's really a great thing. And those guys that aren't actually wanting to be on board, that's just dodging work, because we know this is going to happen and we have an opportunity to make it better than it has been in the past and allow our career field to grow to the way it should, and highlight.
People have this misconception, like, that we all talk and we all constantly work together. I was on the other troop when you two were on 2 troop in Vegas. I had no idea what you were doing, and we worked in the same building. Exactly. I worked in the other end of Horseshoe in Vegas.
Hardly ever saw you.
Hardly ever saw you guys. I distinctly remember walking past JMac in the hallway one day after you guys got back from deployment. He was whistling. He's like, hey, what's up, Aaron? I was like, hey, what's up, sir? That was the first time I'd seen him in like a year. And we worked in the same building, and England was the same way.
Yeah, and no one brought us together. We didn't know what they were doing, what TDYs they were going on. We didn't even know if they had a new guy unless we saw him in the hallway up in the cages. We were like, "Who's that dude walking down the hallway in his boxers and
Dude,
up in the cages?"
but it got good in England, man. We want to knock that wall down to the end. It was good there, and
Oh, so good.
so
It's
I mean, hope
fantastic
that answers the question, Trent. I could talk all day, but it's huge, and like I said, we have that rep now up at half. And there's a lot of things coming down. So, and it was funny because I actually got dimed out last September, October timeframe, and they the career manager reached out to my commander and said, "Hey, man, I need a JMac type to run this summit thing." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess I'm doing it." So clear my schedule. It was awesome because it was the first time ever we had the whole night. We had TACPOs, we had stows, crows across the board from total force, guard, reserve, active, AFSOC. I mean, there was a SEER guys there. Everybody was represented all in this giant room, and it was a 1 week conference. And we got after it, and we got some things up there that completely just in support of the national defense strategy. Everything, it was great. So
yeah, I think one of the big things that's going to come out of this change is that special reconnaissance, their new beret is going to be replaced by a gray ball cap and blacked out shades, like the kind that you wear after you get your eyes dilated. It's just going to be a bar.
They're going to hang from the ball cap, though. They're going to be attached. Yeah, it's going to have a little black bar so that you're constantly redacted.
So that's what the ICCs are going to be?
Yeah, I'm just joking.
I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what I see for the SR based on
SR community.
Trent's
a bottle
Instagram
opener on the cap too. It's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah, bottle opener.
Absolutely, because
Are they still going to have any? Are they still going to have any little helium bottles for their balloons? So you can tell me.
That's just hurtful. No? That's JMac. Ask Trent if he forecasts. Trent, go ahead.
Kestrel pocket.
I mean, I just want to know: do they make weather balloons in multicam now? Because if they do, sign me up.
Okay, I know the commercial you're talking about. All right, and you launch them at night. Okay, so with a little IR cam.
Got him. A lot of hurt behind those words, Trent.
On a multicam and anemometer and a balloon, dude. I'm down. I might go for my third AFSC, dude. I don't know. I might just switch it.
The fact that you said anemometer, I'm just going to give you a 1 whiskey 0x2 AFSC right now.
Dude,
you're in.
It floats.
All right.
I'm
all right. Last word for you, JMac. I just want you to do like in one sentence or two sentences, like what would you tell a guy?
Oh boy.
As far as 1 or 2 sentences, concise as possible.
Quick bet. No, I'm going to take the over on this one. If the over under is 2 sentences, I take the over.
One piece of advice that you would give to a guy,
okay,
or a girl that's trying to get in and do this thing.
If you're jumping with Peach and he's the primary JM, and you are the AJM, and you do not see the PI because the clouds are at 5,000, and the commander says, it's a flickering red to green, just go. What's the worst that can happen? You know what I mean?
Man. Skullthorpe. Hey, everybody, one pass. Everybody, one pass. We're all going.
50% brakes backwards faster than God knows how. And all of a sudden at 800 feet, you break through the clouds, and you're like, it's the PI. But the best part, and you're walking down, you're like, "Hey, Peach, that was good." And he's like, "That was legit. I did a gainer. I don't even know what happened." And then the commander of the squadron is sitting on the ramp, "Not doing that again." And you're just like, here. But no, man. Like so back to the whole. I already lost the bet there, but a one-liner.
Yeah, that was one really long sentence.
It was one long
sentence. I'm not sure if you've lost. I'm
still memories. It's the team room. I'm loving it. I miss you guys, but. So just a 1 or 2 liner to tell people about Crow, or about just
what advice you would give them as they're going in, stepping up, or they're on that gunnel, something that you thought about as you were about to do 10 ups. And you're like, man, screw it.
It could be the worst day of your life, and you can be down on yourself, and you have no idea, but you are capable. You know what I mean? Like, and you have what it takes, because the simple fact, and this is what it boils down to, the simple fact, and this is going to get kind of corny and professional here, but again, the simple fact that each and every one of us raising our right hand, support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, dude, you have what it takes. You already are putting yourself above and beyond what your peers that you grew up with are doing. because they didn't raise the right hand and already, swore an oath like you did. You've already got a leg up, man. Now you've chosen to go a little bit further and test your mind a little bit more, and you are capable. Because if you want to do it, you can do it. You just don't know that yet. Does that make sense? I don't know. Hopefully that helps somebody out there.
And that, JMac, is what we call an Instagram soundbite.
Dude, I don't know, man. I'm telling you. I mean, that's it.
I don't know. It's gonna be tough to decide between
It's
that
gonna be
and
tough.
the self-fat shaming.
I don't even care about that, JMac. That was some of the man. Again, man, like I've known you for a long effing time at this point, man. I thank you. That was great.
Because I'll tell you too. I mean, to circle back on it, like we joke at phase 2, right? It's a nightmare of a week, man. But like it boils back to whole, like you said, hey, how awesome would it be to have 24 dudes or now show up and graduate or select all 24, right? I sit there and I'm going to test you, but at the same time, I'm going to mentor you. So when I'm going to yell at you a little bit, but I'm going to, that throttle's going forward and back all week long. And when you're in that lean and rest on the edge of the pool and you're just like, man, I don't know if I can do one more 10 up. I don't know if I can do one more over and back. I don't know if I can do this 50 meter underwater. I'm going to be in your ear and I'm going to be like, hey man, you can do this. And I'm that instructor and I'm that cadre that's telling you, hey man, when you start gupping halfway, through a 50, keep gupping, man. You've got another 45 seconds in you until you pass out. Keep gupping. You know what I mean? And I love it because some of those psych docs are like, all of a sudden a dude will pop like 2 in a row. And then all of a sudden, like I'll get down, I'll whisper something, a little motivation. Next thing you know, it's like they knock out 4 in a row and the psych docs are like, hey, underwater whisperer, what are you doing? And I'm just like, grande.
That's
I'm just
fantastic.
like, grande, non-fat white mocha.
The cone whisperer,
Thanks.
JMac.
I'm like, give me the grande, non-fat white mocha. Send it.
All right.
So
yeah, I think that is fantastic advice, and I think that's a good place to end the episode. JMac, I appreciate you coming on and spreading some knowledge. Like I said, we've known each other for a really long time, and we all love you a lot. But just like you said, for all of you guys that are watching out there, listening, the biggest thing that you can glean from this whole thing is that you have to be yourself. Just like JMac is always going to be himself, and we all know JMac very well, and we know that he's going to be himself, and that's why we invited him on here, because it is really important to see, like, no matter what, if you think that you have the odds stacked against you, you're a fat kid, you have a appetite of always want to eat pizza or whatever, you don't want to be on a diet, you still have to get the job done. And if it's a thing that you really want to do, you have to prove to yourself that you can do it. And the first step to doing that is actually getting off your butt and starting that journey. That's always the hardest step. You hear that all the time, but those are the big things that I think you should take with you when you're going to selection. Just like JMac said, take that first step and keep on going. As far as the CRO thing and the phase 2, it's a grind, and you can expect that it's going to be a grind. And like JMac said, it's the hardest part of his life, and he had been through selection, and he'd been through team with us and smoke sessions at the unit. So lots of different things, but the thing that keeps you going is, like I said, is his family and what really is going to be down here in your heart. It's not, you can train your butt off and you can get up to 8 miles and you can do whatever, but there's always going to be a surprise. Just like he threw out the whole periodic table thing. You can't plan for every single thing. We're trying to see how you're going to react in a situation that you are unfamiliar with and what you are actually made out of. So no matter how much you continue to plan for everything, you can't. It's impossible. You need to come as prepared as possible for, that a ruck is going to come, that a run is going to come, all those things that are on the pass test and that are going to be told to you for your phase 2 to get ready for. But it's those odds and ends that you just got to be yourself. And we want a person that is confident, is going to tell us a straight up answer like, I have no idea what you're talking about, or this is what I think. And then be a team player. Watch out for your guys. So if you're looking to go the CRO route, you can expect to go through that phase 2 selection process. And again, another important thing that we covered was talking about you're going to do 2, maybe 3 deployments as a CRO, and then you can expect that your job is going to be to advocate for those guys and not to be the guy that's stealing someone's seat. Just like we were talking about on our last deployment with JMac and I, he wasn't taking anybody's seat. He knew that his role was better served back at the jock or the stock or the talk and taking care of all the other things that the team doesn't need to worry about while they're out executing the mission. So I think this is awesome to hear from you. And I'm glad you're doing great out there, continuing to crush things and crush yourself. Maybe we can throw a Viking workout or something up for the guys to do. And I think they would enjoy that. But we all appreciate you coming on here and talking about your experiences. Very valuable for the students out there. So we'd love to have you on again. For now, though, you guys continue to comment, and they can reach you at CrowMC on Instagram. And do you have an email or anything like that?
Yeah, so Crow_MC Instagram. Hit me up, DM me, or I'll just throw it out there, man. PJ JMac at Gmail. Not going to change it, so don't even say it. We're talking legacy email, and I just refuse to do the whole John dot blah. No, man, it's me, dude. Hit it up. You know what I'm saying? So
thanks for coming on, JMac. I appreciate it, man.
What you asked for, because I'm going to be honest with you.
All right, cool. Appreciate you coming on, and thank you guys for listening. Make sure you subscribe, like, and drop down in the comments. You can hit us up anytime you need anything. All right.
Take care, boys. See you to the family. See ya.
See you on Monday there, sir.
All righty.
Late.